Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner is warning Republican lawmakers that they'll be to blame if the U.S. gets too close to hitting the debt ceiling.
The idea that Washington would court that kind of risk now, inconceivable. It would be deeply irresponsible to do it. People will advocate it up there. They will say there's leverage in it, we can advance it, but that would be deeply irresponsible. And they will own the risk. It won't happen in the end, but if they take it too close to the edge, they will own responsibility for that miscalculation.
Freshman Republican Senator Marco Rubio joins us now, and you have said, Senator, that you won't vote to raise the debt limit unless the bill includes deep spending cuts. What do you want to see in the debt ceiling bill? And what about the Treasury Secretary's warnings that you will be responsible for an economic catastrophe if this is not raised?
Yeah, I think if we come back here in a few weeks and all we do is raise the debt limit without any plan to get a hold of this problem, we're risking catastrophe, perhaps even a bigger catastrophe. I agree. I don't like this politics by brinksmanship. Let's start working on it now. Let's stop giving campaign speeches and start working on real solutions to this problem. Look, I know we're not going to get all the things I want personally. I know that, but bottom line is it has to be a serious plan, and I don't see a serious effort, for example, coming from Secretary Geithner, from the President, from anybody on that side of the aisle that's engaged in this debate, and that's problematic. We should start working on this now. This is not something that snuck up on us. We know that this is out there. This is the perfect opportunity to talk about this in a meaningful way, and it's not happening.
What is your expectation as to what's going to happen with the short-term budget deal, the CR that is on the House floor shortly and will be coming over to the Senate later? Are you able to support that, or others
I'm not
who
going
have?
to support it.
You're not going to support it.
Well,
you had a lot of Tea Party support in your campaign, and as a Republican, you know, you're not a Tea Party person, but you are certainly a Tea Party favorite. So where does the Tea Party and other Tea Party favorites like yourself stand on this? You're against...
I'll tell you where I stand on it. It's I ran on a campaign that basically said the United States of America is spending way too much more money than it takes in, and we can't keep doing it. In 10 years, we will have doubled our national debt. That's not sustainable. Just yesterday, we read that the International Monetary Fund says it's lost confidence in America's ability to deal with its debt problem. I ran on a platform that we have to do something about it, because if we do, the next 100 years can be better than the last 100 years have been for America. I get up here and I realize that no one's really got there's not real seriousness about dealing with this issue. So I'm not going to come up here and start participating in what I think are not serious efforts towards solving this. I understand people worked really hard on it. I understand the tough position that many in leadership are in. But I want to see this issue dealt with the seriousness and the intensity that it deserves. This is a major issue, perhaps as important an issue as anything that policymakers have had to tackle in this country in the last 25 or 30 years. And I don't sense urgency around it.
If you saw that there were serious efforts from either the White House or leaders in the House as well as the Senate to deal with caps and triggers and other fiscal restraints in the debt ceiling, would you then oppose any efforts to add social issues onto that, such as we saw with the debate over Planned Parenthood last week?
When it comes to the debt limit, I think the debt limit is an opportunity to deal with that issue, but also to deal with a broader debt issue. And I think we should be focused on the broader debt issue, because it's too great a risk for our country's future. It's holding down job creation. It's something we don't talk about enough. You know, there are jobs that right now are not being created because people are afraid to invest in America's future because they think it's going to mean higher taxes and higher interest rates. So I want the debt issue to be dealt with in its totality as a debt issue. That's what I hope we'll do.
Now, you may not feel comfortable with this, but I have it on good authority that some leading House members, Democrats, are saying that you would be the biggest threat to President Obama if you were on a Republican ticket as a vice president. I know you're a freshman, but you've got Tea Party support. You're from Florida. You bring ethnic diversity. You've got a lot going for you. What about the possibility of your being on the national ticket?
I suppose I should be flattered by those statements they've made, but the reality is I'm focused on this job. I ran because I think that the next 100 years could be better for America than the last 100 years, but it's not going to be if we don't deal with these issues in a serious way. I wish we would start dealing with it right now. I hope we don't wait 6 or 7 weeks for another last-minute showdown, because this issue is too important. On that issue, I would admit, I would agree with Secretary Geithner. This is an important issue. We shouldn't wait to the last minute to deal with it. But I'm telling him, and I'm telling you and everyone who's watching, that if all we do is just raise the debt limit and don't start dealing with our long-term debt problem, it's going to be a catastrophe.
And what about you making those points as a national candidate?
Well, I'm focused on my job in the United States Senate. Again, I'm flattered that people think about me in that way. I think they mean it as a compliment. But this is a big enough job. I mean, I've been here 4 months. I'm focused on my job in the United States Senate. And if I start thinking about anything else, it's going to take our focus off this important job I have.
Marco Rubio, it's great to see you. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you.
And what political story will be making headlines in the next 24 hours? That's next right here.